We're live.
That's Mike.
That's Toya, and this
And
is Tech
that
BC
be
Bytes.
somebody.
How y'all doing? How y'all doing? What's going on, Toya? How you doing?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. I just lost my chat for that whole conversation we was just having because I want to get into that right now.
Right.
Right now. So I'm gonna put it back in there for you.
Cool.
So guys, we always talk about the evaluation company. This is gonna be one of our 30-minute editions. We're practicing for our syndicated show. We're going to try to do this one in 30 minutes or less. But there's a new app out called Clubhouse. It's a social media app, and the social media app right now, Toya, only
Mm.
has 1,500 users. So if you knew about an app that had 1,500 users, and before I tell you even more about it, it's an audio app that is
Mm-hmm.
still in beta. Okay, it's either dead by July or it's up to something big. And if you were on it, it was, discussions between MC Hammer, political commentators, Van Jones, Shaka Singhor, Mark Anderson, and Ben Horowitz. So 1,500 people, a new social app. What do you think is worth?
I don't even listen. Go ahead and just break it. What is worth? What is worth?
The app is already worth $100 million with 1,500 users.
So, so, and it's funny because we was having this conversation offline. So, that's interesting. One, because when you talk about businesses, right? So we have more than 1,500 purchases or customers that have bought from us.
Point
Say what?
taken.
I'm just saying.
Hold on,
And
Toya. You gonna have to. You ain't gonna be able to move as much. You're moving your arm over your microphone.
oh, yeah, it's because it's down here.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, y'all. We was having some technical difficulties. But yeah, no, I think that's just really interesting when you think about Silicon Valley and how money moves.
Hmm.
And, with Corona, the whole idea of VC funding was something that kind of like shut down for a lot of people. And a lot of VCs were talking
For a
about
lot of
how,
certain people, let's be clear.
right. And VCs were basically putting out articles about, how they're kind of like focusing on the brands that they already have in house and they're really not spending. I don't know when this evaluation happened or, when the funding happened for them. But like we talked about last week, there's money out there.
A lot of it, obviously.
Right. For just 1,500 users. So that part.
That's 100 million for 1,500. So like each user is worth 100 or 100,000 dollars plus.
And again, what's the benefit? What's the difference? Because when we talked about it earlier, you was like it's a digital. What did you say? A social audio app? And I was like, what does that mean? So
So I think it's Zoom for private people. So basically, it's a mashup of listening to podcasts while scrolling through your Twitter feed and attending a conference remotely, is how it's been described by CNBC.
okay,
Upon launching the app, they see a few virtual rooms with the names of the people in them. Sometimes there are two participants, occasionally there are 100. When they enter the room, the audio switches on and they can hear people speaking. It's like walking into a conference room where a panel or Q&A is happening. The room's creator can decide who gets to speak. So Michelle Talbert actually just did her own virtual conference, same kind of thing,
hmm
called Hop In. So basically, it's MC Hammer, Paul Judge, that's very big in the cybersecurity world.
hmm
Paul Judge is in there. Felicia, I don't know who this Felicia, not our Felicia Hatcher, but another Felicia.
hmm
Felicia is in here, but it seems to be just a lot of celebrities on a private Zoom with a Twitter feed.
Yep.
So I'm wondering, rich people don't really like to be marketed to. They don't like to be exposed. So if you don't want to be exposed, you're worth money. How does something like this make money, and what data are you capturing to give it the value that it's supposed to have?
Right. I'm sure they're probably gonna do like the freemium. Start out for free and then you start introducing levels and things like that into the revenue system, into the revenue model. Um, but it sounds like, now that you say kind of what it literally is a clubhouse, right? When you think about like Soho House,
Soho,
or you
yeah,
maybe
that's
think of
what.
some of these places that are used for like events and it's exclusive and it has that clubhouse feel, they basically took that and now brought it online. And yeah.
So it seems to be a base of exclusivity for the people that you have access to. But I mean, I've had great conversations with MC Hammer, but I'm wondering how much would I pay to have a virtual conversation with 50 other people in a room and I might not even get a chance to speak.
Hmm.
But this also reminds me of just the live version of Masterclass. I guess, I don't know. If I really had to evaluate it, it sounds like somebody's just washing money.
Hence the 1,500 people with that valuation. Right.
Like, I just want to know who got in on the investment. So Jared Leto is in there. Chris Lyon. Oh, it's Felicia Horwitz that I was talking about.
Hmm.
So
Had to sip my pineapple on that one.
yeah, I'm gonna need a drink after that in general.
It's just tea, though. It's just tea.
I'm gonna need liquor.
Right.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Uh,
Interesting.
so that goes into some of the things we normally talk about when we're talking to people. What problems are you actually solving when you make something or invent something, and how does it actually have that value? So
Exactly.
is it they couldn't just make an exclusive room
Right.
in one of these platforms? And that's why I'm kind of confused that are we actually building things that actually have the value that they claim to have? Because a lot of people are just retaking technology and reutilizing it. But I didn't see anything, even in the feature where you're discussing it, I don't see anything in there that would make it unique to its platform. And it literally says it's bringing in a Twitter feed. Now, I do know like MC Hammer was one of the first people to invest in Twitter. MC Hammer was one of the first people to
Hmm.
have 1 million followers. So I guess I can see some of the value there. But I feel this is, without feeling shameful, probably a reach.
Yeah, no, I mean, to your point, there are 1,000 platforms out there like that, right? So Mind Valley, talking about Masterclass,
Hmm.
they do similar stuff, right? They have programs that you sign up for. I mean, theirs, you're paying for like a class. But again, but you have like chat rooms and you can talk to the other people that are in there. You can go along, you're following along the same path with other people. So I think what they're probably banking on is the people that they're going to have in their sort of classes or their seminars or whatever they're calling them, right? So if, again, because you want to, going back to the masterclass example, you want to take a class to possibly learn about Sarah Blakely and how she did what she did if you're in
Hmm.
that same business. MC
Yep.
Hammer, you want to kind of learn about, how he sort of did his whole musical rise. You may sit there and join Clubhouse and be a part of his club room.
Are you asking me if that's a possibility?
No, I'm just saying. I'm just trying to think about the use and why it's essential and what's different about it. To me, it's just the people that they probably have access to and who will be participating in the clubhouse and the club rooms.
This sounds like the coaching fanboy situation that we talk about in a lot of situations where people are just fans of people and they pay for things where I guess they deem it may be bring them some level of success, but they're actually not learning anything in the process. You're consistently hearing people tell their story. Because that's my thing. You have a lot of people in technology where they're using these platforms and they're using these things where they're just consistently telling their story. They're not telling the process of the execution of their story. And to me, that's becoming very tiring. I already get that you're rich. Forbes put out your net worth and your gross worth every year. All that information is accessible. What I never see is the actual journey. Like Damon John, every once in a while, he digs into the actual journey of what
Mm-hmm.
he's doing. And that makes a little bit more sense because now I'm actually learning the process of what he went through. But normally his process doesn't exceed beyond making clothes because everything else he was pretty much an investor, not an inventor.
Mm-hmm.
So unless somebody else can correct me on that, I don't know who's in the chat. And you guys, if you have questions, please post them in the chat, and we'll respond to the questions. But as far as I know, I can't think of anything else that Damon John has actually invented. He's normally just invested in. So where does your process of how to actually build come into play if you're not actually developing the product or service itself?
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yep. Coaching versus consulting.
thank you very much. I didn't want to have to say it, but since it was said, that is a very key point. Very key point. Another thing I've noticed is that 3 states have decided to work with Google and Apple to do the contract tracing for COVID-19. Would you like to share any of your opinions on being tracked down or whether you're sick or not?
um. so, okay. So I get the idea of trying to control and contain, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I like what does that data look like? Where is it stored? Who has access to it? You know what I mean? Like outside of how does this play into HIPAA laws? Like what does all of that look like? It's enough that Google knows where I am, where's my car is parked, and my routes that I take on a regular basis. You know what I mean? So
I'm glad you asked. Apple has released iOS 13.5, which includes the support for exposure notification API.
I ain't update my phone.
That is co-created with Google to support public health authorities in their contact tracing efforts to combat COVID-19. The API requires third-party apps developed by public health authorities for use, and none have yet been released. But the iOS device users already have access to COVID-19 exposure logging global settings. So basically, you go to settings, general, privacy, and under health, it'll actually show. Not only does it show COVID-19 exposure logging, but then it goes into your audio. So you just turn it on, and I will tell you the details of what that says.
Yeah.
Because I want people to be informed. We don't want y'all out there in these streets making mistakes. iPhone is exchanging random IDs with other devices using Bluetooth.
Mm-hmm.
I just want this is what it states.
Bluetooth is where it's at. That's the tracker that you need to pay attention to.
Yeah. The random always on. The random IDs your device collects are stored in exposure log for 14 days. This exposure log allows an app you authorize to notify you if you may have been exposed to COVID-19. If you are diagnosed with COVID-19, you can choose to share your own device's random IDs with the authorized app so it can notify others anonymously.
Right, so I get it, right? So I get okay, so if you were to contract COVID-19, you would kind of want to know where and how and who and how that happened. But then there's another part of you that's like, there's privacy, right? So you as the person, you don't want to necessarily share all of that information and be tracked like that. And it's just another way to you know what I mean? It feels like just too much. Too much.
It's too much. Too much. No,
what are your thoughts?
What is you doing, Daniel, baby? What is you doing? All right. So truthfully, my thoughts is it's too much exposure. I don't see how this doesn't violate HIPAA laws, and I don't see how you don't get into a situation where they end up pulling other data from your health records. I think it's a risky take. As you can see, the African guards on the walls from Malawi, that would have to be a no for me, dog. I would have to say no. I mean, I already feel like I got corona every day when my chest getting tight because I'm getting mad at people because I'm stressed out. Every time I'm having a panic attack or something, I'm like, ooh, is that corona? Is that corona?
Right. Ooh, Rona, that's you? I sneeze. Rona, that's you?
Right.
Yeah.
Be sitting around the house scared to cough because I'm like, if I cough, is that my first sign of corona? Let me just hold this cough in a little bit longer and go get me
Exactly. And that's the point that I was going to say, and I forgot, is that I feel like that just is going to create another level of fear and just anxiety. People who are kind of like hypochondriacs or just always nervous and watching the news, I feel like they're just going to keep checking the app. Like, oh my God, Publix by my house, is it now a hotspot for Rona?
Right. I just saw 3 people had it. I can never go back to Publix no more.
Right. So I think that there is a level of social management that needs to happen with this app, because even though a lot of people may not use it, there will be people who do use it.
So I'm wondering what you just said, how does that affect business? Because what if your contract tracing leads back to the fact of showing me that I contracted it while I was at your location? So now somebody Yelp reviews you and says, X, Y, and Z restaurant had 3 people come through there with the Rona.
Yeah.
So I wonder how they even thought that part through.
Right. Right. And people already, especially business owners, already feel a kind of way about Yelp reviews. So this is just another like, is that going to become like another little icon, Rona free? You know what I mean? Like, how
So,
how is this managed? How is this managed?
AP Daniel has said she's good on the whole contract tracing app, and contract tracing is currently employed for STIs, but they don't use any sort of apps as far as she knows. So,
Right.
hmm, so that's sexually transmitted infections. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Flash diseases. So,
Uh,
when people have contract AIDS, then they'll sort of start to reach out to people that they may have been in contact with. But I feel like that's done in a very like deliberate, you know what I mean? It's not an app. An app just feels like way too much. Let the
you know,
distribution be a little bit more like manageable.
you just had a whole bunch of people that had flashback from their college days when they got that phone call. I went to the doctor and I got something to tell you. So now I went to the doctor and I got something to tell you is just going to be a
It's a
text message or a
notification.
pop. you were just within 17 feet of the road.
Right. Go get checked out.
People gonna be sitting up there scraping themselves down. Oh man, I got.
It's real. And especially when, stores and things starting to open back up now. It's like, whoa.
And I
I
want
just feel like
everybody
a
to
panic
understand.
attack, a major panic attack about to
Right.
happen.
Just everybody understand. We're making fun of the STD part, not the Rona part. We do understand Rona is serious. I do not want to
Yeah,
come
yeah,
off as
yeah.
being insensitive.
No, no, no. It's more so about the data management and then the possible like domino effect that could happen around it.
So Megan Jones has asked the question, what distance and time period triggers this? I think it's if somebody reveals it, that means the app would be tracing your location. So your location would be on consistently. Now we don't know this, so I'm guessing of how it would work. There's a couple of articles out there, but I would assume the app would trace your location, and once it's tracing your location, if you've identified yourself for positive, it would track your location for the next 14 days of where you go. So if you were at the grocery store,
Right.
getting your hair done, getting your nails done, you stop to get gas, it's going to show everybody that comes within contact of that within that 14 days that they've probably been somewhere. So that's another thing. It's not like that notification would just stay for 10 minutes where it's like, okay, the virus has possibly died because it's been in on a contact surface for 10 minutes and it's been disinfected. That's why I'm saying it could affect a lot of businesses, because what if I see something, I'm like, so your spot just got infected, or 13 people that had
Right.
coronavirus just came through Home Depot. I guess I ain't building no garden this weekend because I'm not going to Home Depot at that point.
Right.
I
Right.
think it could possibly put them in a position where it definitely calls over paranoia more than
Exactly.
anything.
And then what is the overlap to your point, right? So if
Mhm.
if there is a potential situation on day 1, day 14, but if somebody comes on day 7, you know what I mean? So does it just continue to be like a hot spot?
Yeah, but it's because it says it's keeping it in your log for 14 days. So I would just assume that data log would store your latitude and longitude, your GPS location of where you went for at least 14 days.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the location. So not you personally, but like that location. So let's say Shell becomes a hot spot on day 1 of the 14 for the
Yeah, that's
initial
what
one.
I'm saying. It's hot for the next 14 days. That's what I would
Right.
assume.
But then if someone else comes and like
It
let's
just
say to
keeps
your
it
point,
going.
contact surface, the virus has died, it's not a threat. But because it's day 7 within the 14, now you have an additional 7 days on top of the 14. So now it's 28 days at the gas station as a hot spot.
I would assume so, because unless you do a thing where it has a chart, like a dying chart, or it says possibility of infection,
Right.
it's happened
On a
within the
scale.
last 3 to 5 days, and this is at 85% hot. I mean, it's a whole bunch of algorithms you can put it in that, and Facebook and them people probably watching us now probably like we didn't even think about that. So if it ain't there and they come out, just know we just told them how to do it. But I can see that happening.
Yeah.
So on to different news with the mouse and all those good people. Hulu's biggest redesign in years is coming,
Mm.
where they're offering a more standardized experience, improved navigation, and discovery. Hulu is pretty much making their front end look like Apple, which goes to the theory that I've been thinking about.
Mhm.
I'm predicting the mouse doesn't do that good over the summertime because people are actually worried about their children more than other people are worried about getting their hair and nails done, right? The
Mm.
mouse doesn't do that good. I think Amazon buys something, not sure what they buy, but I think Tim Cook decides a lot of people don't need new iPhones because they ain't been out a lot of places and they haven't dropped their phone or the update ain't necessary. Tim Cook goes and buys Disney, which now means Apple has control of NBC Universal, Disney, and Hulu, and that's why you're starting to see the stuff look more so that transition. When you realize Hulu is actually controlled by Apple, doesn't shock you that much. That's what I'm predicting.
And that could very well be true. That could be a little a primer. Hey,
Yeah.
look, we're changing how we look.
You
We're
like this?
ready.
Because I'm telling you, if you look at this Hulu design and then
Hmm.
you look at Apple TV, it's the same hard squares, clean lines, gradient background. It's very Apple-ish.
Mm. Yeah, there it is. Look out for the
What
merch.
I do want to know is when am I getting this update though? Because I don't see it. My TV look real old. It look real
I was gonna say I was on Hulu last night and that thing looked regular.
very regular. So
I did not see a difference.
so I think Hulu is trying to match up with the ESPN Plus and the Disney Plus design. So I'm assuming that's what's going
Ooh.
on.
Disney Plus has been a rocky one. Let me tell you, that thing almost like never works.
Okay, so you got it for Taco?
Yeah, for myself, sometimes you gotta look at the old Disney movie.
That's real. You know what? High five to that. I get it. It
Right,
ain't
right.
it. You got to stay sane on your
Growing up
own.
a Disney kid, you want to see Mary Poppins sometimes. But yeah, no, and it doesn't necessarily work all the time. But who knows?
So since you're talking about animation, random fact. Did you know that She-Ra was the first cartoon where the female was the lead of the cartoon?
I can believe that.
And that same
You
company that
can't think of
produced that,
anything before that.
the same company that produced that cartoon, they
Hmm.
actually were trying to have a black superhero that was a lead. I think it's called Black Star, but the networks and the companies blocked them from doing it because they said the world wasn't ready for
Of
that.
course they did.
So Black Star would have been the superhero right aside He-Man back in the day, but they blocked it.
Trying to stop our greatness.
I just want y'all to know we've been getting hated on ever since even in cartoons. So you want to go ahead and tell people what's going on in these streets?
In these streets, listen, Walmart is coming for Amazon's throat, honey. And Rona is to blame. So basically, Walmart, as we know, is almost everywhere nationwide, and they have about 5,000 plus stores. And because of that, and most Walmarts have food, right? So they have the grocery department. So what does that mean? Walmart's able to do a lot more fulfillment quicker and easier than Amazon because Amazon is partnered with who? Whole Foods. And Whole Foods doesn't have the same footprint that Walmart does. So Walmart is actually seeing a major increase and boost when it comes to online orders and delivery. And it's all thanks to the Rona. And it's interesting because I was at the Black Women Talk Tech conference right before Corona hit, and Walmart was there. And when you think about Walmart from a brand perspective, you're kind of like, okay, well, they're more about value, and you think about the pricing, but Walmart is doing a lot to support small businesses within the states. So if you have a business, if you have a product-based business specifically, definitely look back into Walmart. And right now, you can apply to put your brand on Walmart's online marketplace without even having to be in the store. So they're really building up their e-commerce presence. Amazon, watch out. That's what's going on in these streets.
You know what? I like hearing that because it's about time that somebody gives Amazon some form of competition. But I also think it's about time Walmart has a little bit more respect for these smaller businesses that are actually coming out with products and to give them the opportunity to actually sell without having to have such massive numbers. Because that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
complaints I remember people telling me about that was trying to work with Walmart. They really complained about the numbers they had to put up just to get into the store. Because like those initial numbers were like crazy shock value. It'd be like, whoa, well, you need how many products for me to get in?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
and
and I believe, I don't know how long ago your friends was talking to Walmart, but I'm sure that they've sort of pivoted a little bit, just
that was
even from the
5 or 6 years
conversation.
ago. It was a while ago.
Yeah, from the conversation that I heard when I was at the conference, they're really focused on indie brands. They're focused on building their online marketplace. You can advertise on Walmart.com as a brand. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And then they also have like their annual sort of like Made in America brand meetup where if you're a Made in America brand, you can come to Walmart, pitch your business and all that kind of good stuff. So they're doing quite a bit to
Do you know the
support.
quantity? Do you know the quantity you have to have for the online store? And do you know if there's the word I'm looking for? What's the percentage? How are they doing the cuts for everything? Do you know that?
No, I haven't looked into it yet.
Okay.
But
Is cosmology going to be on there?
yeah, no, we're looking into it. We're
Okay.
going to start looking into it. And my position on Walmart really changed after hearing them at the conference. Because going back to my point, oftentimes you hear about Walmart being about price, right? Lowest price, lowest price, lowest price. But what they actually said is that it's lowest price, but then it's also great value. And those two things don't have to be together. So they
Oh,
have some brands like Main Choice or Carol's Daughter or Miss Jessie's that are product-based brands that have a higher price point, and then they also have the lower, more value-based products as well. So they do recognize both aspects on the same shelves. So it's pretty
okay.
cool. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's good to know. I mean, it has a little bit of rhyme or reason, but I still feel awkward shopping from Walmart since I know how little they pay their employees, but at least I know they're doing something right. So if you're going to be there, I feel comfortable shopping at Walmart.
We'll see.
Uh,
Stay tuned.
so we'll do that. We'll do that. I think that would be a great follow up for one of our segments for you to follow up and tell everybody how that process went. Or are you going to do that on your up and coming podcast?
It'll be both.
Okay.
Listen, cross-pollination.
Yeah, right, right. Y'all saw that slight promotion. So we have a couple of minutes. I didn't see any questions today. Did you have any other pressing topics before we closed out?
So no. So well, yes. So the answer is not no. The answer is yes. Yes.
Okay.
So Tracy Ellis Ross, I'm excited to see her movie that's coming out. It is called where I lost it because we had it in the chat. But Tracy Ellis Ross, she released on Instagram last week her debut song, which will be a part of her movie called Higher Note, and she's playing a singer,
Oh,
which is so cool. And so it was exciting. I saw a clip of when she released her song on Instagram, and she was getting emotional, and she just had everybody was in the chat and just giving her love. So definitely look out for that. I believe the movie drops on May 29th. So that should be really, really cool. And the
so
movie's called Higher Note.
does she sound like her mom?
She sounds like herself.
Okay. I
When you
like that.
listen to the clip, they have the song already up and available online. There's an article, I think, in Rolling Stone online where you can listen to the actual audio.
Mm.
But when you hear it, you can hear Tracy, and she sounds like herself. It's not as
Good.
if her singing voice is something different from her talking voice. It
Okay.
sounds like her, which is cool.
So with that being said, we'll go ahead and close out with someone needs to hear this. So today, guys, for someone needs to hear this, just a quick conversation of know your worth and know your value, king and queens, but more so just as a company. So we recently went into a situation where we were talking to someone about the value of the services that we were offering. And let's just say they seem to have sticker shock. Now, the surprising part to me is I don't understand how somebody has sticker shock when we've asked you for a budget, but you couldn't give us a budget. Someone needs to hear this. If you don't want sticker shock, give people a budget. The response of, which we hear so often, well, I just don't know how much it should cost. The point isn't for you to know how much anything should cost. The point is for you to have a budget. You really don't know how much it costs to make a car, but you know how much you're willing to spend on a car. So unless you told me that you've done research on the production of metal, rubber, and all the plastics and leather that goes into making a car, you still don't know how much it actually costs to make a car. You just know what you want out of the car and you know how much you're willing to spend. Otherwise, quit telling me you don't have a budget, because if you didn't have a budget, or if you had a budget, you wouldn't be sticker shock. But guess what? If you didn't have a budget, the highest price I give you would be great if I'm giving you everything you're looking for in your service. Quit wasting people's time. Be respectful of their time. Give people a budget so they can tell you whether or not they can deal with your cheap ass to actually service you. Someone needs to hear this. All right. Boy, you can't even talk. Why you laughing?
All right.
I already know that resonated with you with about 20 different people you didn't had to talk to before. It's just one of those things, people. It's real simple. It's simple.
Yeah, I mean, on both sides of the track, right? So now, being on the brand side as a brand owner, you try to do what you can, what you got. So I get both sides of it.
But at the end of the day, you can ask somebody what they normally charge, but you still close it out with, you know what? I like what you're offering me, but I can only do $2.75 per unit.
Exactly.
Or I can only, and they'll come back and say, great, this is all we can do for you. But you don't say, I just want a comb made and I don't know what I can get. And they be like, oh, your comb gonna be $18, but it's gonna have flying. It's got a Bluetooth connection. You're like, I ain't need all that.
Right.
I ain't got that kind of money.
No, and people, to your point, people know what they're working with before they have a conversation. They try to act like they don't know the budget. Because it's not even, you don't have to have a specific budget, but you know how much you're willing to spend. Which is more of the mindset to get into. How much are you able to spend to get this service done? I
understand with trust it's a problem, because if you higher than what I might have spent, you think you're getting ripped off. But I've never seen somebody have a budget bigger than what I was trying to offer. So let's just help each other out.
Exactly. And I think it's just a lot of times out here sometimes where people are like, oh, I want to get this done, but I've never done it before, so I don't even know how much to say my budget is. So a lot of times I think it's just buyers' education and not knowing, like, a newsletter should be X amount versus whatever they may not know what it should be. So
look here. Jeff Bezos is one of the richest people in the world, on his way to become a trillionaire. Even when he goes to buy a t-shirt, I bet you that man still have a budget on how much money he's willing to spend on a t-shirt. He budgets his whole life and he has endless money. So unless you got Jeff Bezos money, you got a budget for whatever it is somebody's offering you. Let's just get to it. So with that being said,
that's Mike.
That's Toya. And this is Tech
Beats and Bytes.
All right, guys.